According to an article in the Wall Street Journal, and I quote, "Under current law, U.S. companies can defer taxes indefinitely on the profits they say they have earned overseas until they repatriate that money back to the U.S. So wake up, America, and smell the coffee. I would welcome your opinion as to the truth of my following statements. 1. All emperors, kings, queens, aristocrats, conglomerates, and large manufacturing companies, any profit-making corporation, all wish to achieve cheap labor. Egypt, Rome, Spain, England, France, etc., all used slave labor for hundreds of years. Slave labor was used up to and through the 19th and into the 20th century. Slave labor was continued with the advent of Germany's National Socialist Party and the enslavement of Poland, Czechoslovakia, Holland, Denmark, Norway, and a large part of Russia, not to forget the 300 years of American slavery here in the good old USA. Plus, in Germany, all the Jews and the Catholics. Those who couldn't or wouldn't work were put to death. By 1942, several million Europeans were working for companies like Krupp and Schindler, cheap slave labor. The immigration to America in the late 19th century and early 20th century supplied cheap labor. The Irish, the Italians, the Latins, all contributed to our much-needed cheap labor force. 2. In 1940, we conscripted our boys into military service to fight for, quote, democracy if we were attacked. Roosevelt began the Lend-lease for Britain and Russia. Our large manufacturers like McCormick Tractor and General Motors had to retool in a few months. Those big companies found a severe shortage of cheap labor. Suddenly, radio, advertising, newspapers, stories said Uncle Sam needs patriotic women to go to work for democracy. That's when Rosie the Riveter became famous, and the men were replaced by cheap female labor. 3. The corporations have taken over America and the American government. They have written a tax code for themselves that allows them to escape paying taxes. They send jobs overseas and then don't want to pay the taxes on the money they make there. This is all a way of putting the tax burden on you and me and all we ordinary working Americans while sheltering the rich and the multinational corporations. The big corporation mouthpieces will tell you that these tax laws keep businesses from relocating overseas. I'd say, if they want to leave America, let them go. Why should they have the benefit of being an American company without doing their fair share to make America a better place? If they want to exploit cheap labor markets around the world, go ahead. They just shouldn't expect Americans to buy their products when we can make everything we need in this country. Remember, when we used to actually make things in this country? We can go back to that. It's these big corporations who have turned the American dream into a fairy tale. Don't let them turn us into a demoralized, uneducated, cheap labor force. 4. The search for cheap labor has resulted in the destruction of our democracy. Our people are once again ill-clothed, ill-fed, ill-housed. We are in a deep recession from which we may never recover, and the dollar could get devalued. Only the very, very rich will survive. Thank you for listening.